Dan Marino has had his hands. You talk about some of these guys, he's had his hand under asses, of yours for the first 5 or 6 years of your career. You know what I mean? And okay, it is what it is. It is what it is, right? It is what it is.
That's the way the game is played,
That's right, exactly right. Not as much anymore, Tim, but it is the way it is back then, right? But we're spending all this time talking about, Don Shula and expectations and the fans, but what did Dan Marino, what did he expect from the guy he relied on to get up there all the time, each play, when they got started, from the snap to protections? What was that experience like?
Well, you learn a lot. I mean, you really, as he comes in, you see the way he operates in the huddle. You see the way he calls the plays. You see the way, he's calling the audibles at the line. I mean, you really just look at that point when I was coming in, he was hitting his stride and just really, just a complete player. Sometimes think he doesn't get all the credit he deserves. But the other thing, when I came in, I think he was disappointed in my height. Because, a lot of the other guys were taller. So at that point, it had, his knees, I had the knee issues for years. I don't think he liked having to bend over as much to take the snap. And like you said, we didn't do as much shotgun as now. So maybe the next time you talk to him, you can ask him about that. I'm sure he'll probably have a couple other funny stories as well. But no, tremendous experience to be able to play with him. And, you see how the quarterback position is played. I mean, that's probably the best way to sum it up.
Yeah, and Tim, down in Miami, it's always super hot and humid, and I know my ass, I sweated so much. But I never had I never had Danny's hands under my pants, and I know this for a fact. That was there a point, like during the game at halftime, where Danny had to ask you to change your pants because I know how much I sweat, and Danny's like. Yeah, talk about that. Cause I remember Danny like, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you a couple of things. First of all, coming down from Indiana, where it gets hot, where hot isn't hot. You know what I mean? Hot isn't hot. Hot is like, oh, well, there's a little bit of sun out today. Everybody's happy, You come down to Florida, where it's 95 degrees and 90% humidity, you tend to sweat a little bit, So, I guess maybe I sweat a little bit more than most people. But, so it was in the home games, and this would be the first, I think it was the first couple of years. I don't know. I would change my pants halfway at halftime so that, it wouldn't be as sweaty and that for the second half and that so I don't know, like I said, it kind of was always when I was there. So I didn't know if anybody else had to do it, but I know I did. So, maybe I'm just special. I've been told that a lot, but in many different ways.
Well, you know what? Nobody else had to deal with Danny's hands, bro. That's like you're the only position that had to deal with a diva-ass quarterback. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's like, it's because we all were sweating to death down there. It was like crazy how hot and humid it was, especially after a rain or even some rainy games. Like, so I was like, damn, I was telling Steph, I think I remember that Dan had Tim change his pants sometimes because the weather was sweaty, and it was because it was super fucking hot out there, bro.
I tell you what, it seems like they talk about global warming. It seems like it was hotter in the 90s, in the late 90s. I don't know. That's one question I wanted to ask Juice because I don't know. We can go out now. Now, obviously, we didn't have, indoor practice facility like they used to have at Davie and, things like that. We were running 2-a-days and all that. But damn, it seemed a lot hotter back then than it does now.
We were right on the sun. The sun was right on our practice field, right on our game field, man. It never failed, man. Never failed.
Yeah. Well, do you think it also seemed hotter because you were probably 80 pounds heavier and you were wearing all that equipment and practicing football? Like then now if you go, you get to stand on the side and be that alumni that the current center should come over and shake your hand.
Don't try to deflect, Seth. We're talking facts here. This is my memory from 30 years ago, and Juice's memory from 30 years ago, and I'm very disappointed that you would come at us with that.
You know what? You guys have got to be right. You got to be right about this.
Damn right.
Did you ever turn around and say, "Look, what do you want from me, Danny? Like, you want me to be taller? You want me to sweat less? Like, just take the damn ball and do what you do. Let me do what I do. You do what you do."
Right.
No, I never would have said that.
No.
Probably a good decision. Yeah. Probably a good decision.
I would have been traded in week 1, I think, if that had happened there.